month.
Well, this is really great news because you're right. It has slowed down from for a number of reasons, from moratoriums to the whole, you know, hemp mandated process that you have to take a client through. So it has slowed down, but you're saying for credit unions and regional banks, it's still a huge opportunity, and you're speaking specifically for your company. You guys have assets to give right now, and you need agents. Am I right about that?
Yep.
So
Yeah, we're definitely, well, I should say our clientele is fairly immune to all of that, moratoriums and all of that stuff.
Right, right. Now, can you name before we are, folks, believe it or not, we are going to get into our topic. Can you name a few areas where you have the greatest need right now?
The greatest need, a lot of activity in Northern California.
Okay.
Of course, Southern California is always active for us.
Mm-hmm.
We've been seeing more and more stuff in the Nevada area, Georgia, throughout Florida, Texas, Michigan. So those are probably some of the heavier areas.
Okay. All right. Fantastic. Well, folks, this call is nationwide, so we do have people listening right now from all of those areas you just mentioned, and we certainly hope you'll take advantage of the tremendous opportunity represented here with Infinity National Asset Management Services. So, Jay, let's jump into our subject here. How are you positioning yourself for 2011? Obviously, man, you are absolutely in the mix of things. You know what's going on. So, what the realtors need to know, or what is it they don't know that they need to know so they can position themselves for 2011? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, what do I think is going to happen? Again, I'm no economist, but I just try to look at things with a sense of common sense. And if you look back and you compare this to other recessions, and just the most recent last big one was in the end of the 80s, and of course, real estate recession through the early 90s. And if you just ask yourself, through that recession, how long were real estate agents doing REO after that recession? And they were doing them up till 2000, depending on what area you were in, 2001.
Okay.
And how long were they doing short sales? Up till 2004.
Okay.
People were still doing short sales because of the recession in the early 90s.
Wow.
Now, the recession we're going through currently, of course, it may have ended a year ago. I don't know. I'm still waiting for that one. But what we're going through now is nothing compared to is way larger than the one in the early 90s. So as we go through, and it's a perfect question, how do I position myself? A lot of real estate agents I've seen have been very skittish to go full force into REO or short sales or small cap commercial because they feel that it's not going to be around long enough. It won't. This recession is going to come over and it's going to go back to a normal market. Well, truly, if you position yourself correctly and you're into one of these niches, you're at least 10 years you got ahead of you to build out this niche.
Wow.
And really run a really successful business model. And, of course, it's always been I always train agents when I talk to them is if you're building a niche like this, especially REO, if you position yourself right and you're really active in the community and you actually work with the buyer's agents and just don't snuff them off and you're actually, a decent person to people, you will build such an incredible reputation in your area. When the market does change, you'll be the best positioned one to take advantage of the changed market. But we still have 10 years easy that we'll be working this out. Whether the recession is over in next year or the year after is irrelevant.
Right.
Still going to be working through this inventory for years to come.
So then what are some practical things that agents can do to position themselves for 2011? What is your recommendation? What's your top 5 things that they should put in place right now to position themselves for success in 2011?
Right. if anyone wants to take notes, I kind of have broken this out into a couple of different areas, and I'd like to just maybe start with the top 5 things that might be a little bit esoteric, kind of out there, but where you need to mentally get yourself to.
Okay.
And then I broke into the top 5 to get into REO, top 5 to get into short sales, and the top to get into the small cap commercial.
Okay.
So I kind of broke it out there so people can take notes on what they want to, but a lot of it relates to, you know, however you're going to treat your business in general.
Okay.
And the top thing right off the top that I see most people get into the trap, most agents really get into a trap. And they get into a trap because as real estate agents, we love to make deals happen.
Right.
Whatever the deal is,
mm-hmm.
whatever I'm selling, and one day it can be this and one day it can be that. It's the biggest trap agents fall into is fragmenting themselves. And I'd have to say, don't fragment your business.
All right.
Choose a business model and go for it, which rolls right into number 2 is choose a niche. And the secret to that is become the ultimate expert in it.
Okay.
You have to know that niche better than anybody else, and you have to be the expert.
Well,
Number
that's great.
3
mm-hmm.
is be different, which goes right along with being an expert. But what are you doing that makes you stand out from your competition? What are you doing to go beyond what the traditional person in that niche is doing? What are you doing to stand out? Which goes right with number 4, which is be passionate. And I can't say anything more about that than if you are passionate about what you do and you're like a laser beam focused in on a niche and you are the expert and you're just totally focused on that, you will have more passion than anyone else. And it's those with passion that get the business. And it always has been. I mean, any of you can listen to Eric's voice. You know why he's one of the top lenders in, I don't know, what is it, everywhere? Because he's got passion about what he does, and he's an expert, and he's incredible. You work with Eric, loans close because he knows they close, and his passion is translated to his team, and his team is passionate, and he's built a huge organization on that passion. So, and he has a niche, and he goes with it. The number 5, and this is interesting and maybe a little off what you would normally hear, but work together with other experts in that niche. Build groups, build masterminds. It's one of the purposes and why 5-Star was so successful. You spoke with Ed last week. There were 5,000 agents, something like that went to 5-Star this last year.
That's right. That's right.
I mean, how many of those actually got to touch an asset manager? Probably not that many. But what they did accomplish, and you go there and you'll see it, they're all creating groups and masterminds across the nation on how to work with one another and build off each other's expertise and the new things they're doing in their market areas that you can try in your market areas. There's an incredible power built in working with others and sharing. So,
wow, that is powerful stuff. The top 5 things you can do to reposition yourself for 2011. Now, let me see, Jay, if I got this right. I'm going to try to be a good student here. Number 1, don't fragment your business. And,
right.
That kind of reminds me of the saying to be a jack of all trades but a master of none, right? You only have so much time in the day. You only have so much money. You only have so much in resources available to any particular project. So don't fragment yourself, but focus in on one particular business model, and which leads to number 2, become a niche expert. So in that niche, if it's short sales, you need to be an absolute bona fide expert on short sales, right? Or if it's REO, be an absolute bona fide expert on REO. And then differentiation. Differentiation is really huge. How do we all, especially when everybody's kind of doing the same thing, or if there's a lot of competition in your marketplace, There's got to be something unique about your approach, about your marketing, about how you conduct yourself. There's got to be something that differentiates yourself from others in the marketplace. Jay, let me stop there for a second here. What are some of the areas people can focus on as agents for differentiation?
Well, and that's one thing I wanted to get to in the next ones, because now I want to go into the top 5 of what you can specifically do.
Okay, great. Let's do that. All right.
The first one I wanted to start with was REO.
Okay.
That seems to probably be one of the most popular out there, is that either you're already in REOs, but you want to expand what you're doing, or you want to try to get your foot in the door, with REOs. And it is a very unique time in the market to do it, because a lot of people have gotten frustrated and left the REO and gone to just doing short sale business and kind of given up on the REO. So it's opened the door for more agents to be able to get in. Still massive competition, but the doors are being opened for people to get in. And the other aspect of it, let me just jump right into it. The number one thing that I think if you want to get into REO that you need to really be focused on is you must do perfect, timely BPOs.
Okay.
Okay. The BPO is your signature, whether you are a good REO agent or a bad REO agent. And I'll tell you, just my asset managers, I know a lot of other asset managers, they will judge you on your BPO, on how good it is.
Okay.
So you will X yourself out of the REO field before you even get in if you're not doing perfect, timely BPOs.
All right.
The number 2 is build a system for doing BPOs, because the more you do, the more expert you become, the more known you'll become amongst the asset managers, because asset managers work in a big room with a lot of cubicles and the other asset managers, and if you're doing an awesome job for the asset managers, they talk about who's doing an awesome job, and your name will get out there and you'll get known, especially if that timely and you get a system down. And again, it really comes down, the more you do, the more opportunities for REOs. And it varies from asset manager to asset manager, but inevitably each one is going to have, you do so many BPOs, you're going to get an REO. Even if they have their favorites, they'll start feeding you, and then they'll start seeing how you do. And if you're really just doing awesome on their BPOs, you'll start getting them. And, it might be 60, 100 before you get your first REO.
Sure.
But once you do, then you're in.
Okay.
That's the golden goose there. Number 3, you have to have a good resume, and you have to sign up and update your accounts often. Now, there's lots of asset management companies. Don't spend an entire month just signing up with all of them. Pace yourself. And then go back and make sure that your account is updated often.
Okay.
With all of those asset managers. And as far as a resume, you just got to make sure it's clean. It's okay if you don't have expertise or don't have experience, but make sure you really highlight what your experience is, or you're using the experience of your broker, or the group you're associated with, or the network you've set up to support you in the REOs, which goes to my number 4 is build your local support network. And that's really critical, because you have to understand, and why most agents aren't high-producing REO agents is, one, it's expensive. It's an incredible amount of work. And I know a lot of people do complain for the big REO listing agents, but they don't realize how much work and pressure the REO listing agent is under. And answering requests from buyers on your listings is like at the bottom of